Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in this one, I'm going to be going over a very fun and awesome build that I've been trying out in 3v3 Arena. It's going to utilize the talent Wild Charge, and I'm going to be bouncing around the battlefield and avoiding damage quite a lot. A much more interesting and engaging experience than the classic sit in bear form and tank them out like you're a Guardian Druid build. And I have noticed that the sit in bear form build is not working as effectively against a lot of melee DPS in the game. So I opted to try something different and go break the meta and play Wild Charge, and it was a lot of fun, especially on arena maps like Dalaran Sewers, Blade's Edge Arena, Mugumbala, all of these, Tiger's Peak, anything with an upper and a lower level that you can jump up to. This is going to be a very fun build. I choose to run Bash. I choose to run Thorns. This is going to allow me to stun the melee DPS, use Thorns on the melee DPS when they chase me, scare them away or kill them. You want to utilize Typhoon quite a lot, Stampeding Roar, and Dash. It engages the entire Druid kit, and if you play it well, you're going to notice that you take no damage. Your healers are going to love you. You're going to find groups really easy. So I'll be running you through how I do it in this game in particular against a Warrior Mage Paladin. At the start, you want to crowd control the healer. You run over in stealth, you Disorienting Roar, and you try to Cyclone. If the enemy team stops you, oh well, just pull away, wait for the interrupt to be over, get dots up like Moonfire while you're interrupted on nature. But here, my Paladin gets crowd controlled, Intimidating Shout. I want to crowd control the mage so that they can't polymorph the healer out of this and then knock them away so that they do not get a polymorph on my Paladin for as long as possible. Then I want to switch the Cyclone to the enemy healer so that I can start to do damage. But unfortunately, my healer gets crowd controlled too, so I'm going to pop Barkskin immediately, go into bear form, Frenzied Regeneration. That's the natural reaction to any time your healer is crowd controlled and you suddenly lose health. That's a good reaction. Then I try to line of sight on the bottom. This is where I'm going to be utilizing Wild Charge. When the warrior charges me, I'll go travel form and bounce back up to the upper level and try desperately to line of sight the warrior and get back to my Paladin. We were fortunate that they ended up breaking their crowd control. This could have been a lot more scary, but now my Paladin is no longer crowd controlled. There's no box here next to his frame. I need to get my dots up on the targets, and I need to get into Eclipse. So I'm casting Wrath twice. I get Lunar. I press all of my Star Surges after getting Lunar to blast the target, but the mage used Alter Time here, so this stopped all the damage from happening. You still just continue to truck through it. Alter Time's a pretty long cooldown, so they're not going to have it every single time. But then I decide to try and root the warrior as I'm expecting them to crowd control my Paladin soon, which they are casting Polymorph. My warrior interrupts it, so I keep focusing on damage. I get into Solar Eclipse by casting 2 Starfires. As soon as the other target's out of line of sight, I start hitting the other one. That's the main goal. I just want to max my damage. Now I position the warrior downstairs, I bash the warrior, and then I Wild Charge back up to the upper level to get away from the warrior and reduce all the damage that I was taking. I then try to position near the ledge to use Typhoon and bounce the mage and the Paladin off the side while my warrior switches to their warrior. Unfortunately, they switch to our warrior, so now I need to play defensive. I'm going to be casting Regrowth whenever I'm not the target and my Paladin or healer is crowd controlled. I want to Cyclone, or I want to Regrowth to heal the target while my healer can't. As soon as they're out of crowd control, I go to the enemy healer and I use Disorienting Roar and I cast Cyclone. And then when I'm doing damage, I cast Wrath here twice to get Lunar Eclipse, and then I dump all of my Star Surges. Now, of course, you're not going to get this perfectly. They're going to intercept you like they did here with Intimidating Shout, so I need to get back down to the lower level and get ready to kite. Now, the warrior's been kited so much that he's kind of given up. He knows what I'm going to do when I'm bringing the warrior down over here, so this will allow me to focus more on damage. I did decide to use Solar Beam defensively here on the mage to interrupt Polymorph. I've noticed with being my best strategy at the moment is to try and drag games out and focus on defense. So that's why I'm not running the Mass Entanglement for enemy crowd control. This could be because I'm playing with a warrior, so it plays better into just doing damage and playing solid defense. You may want Mass Entanglement with another composition, but this build was just fun. I use a Bull Rush, the High Mountain Tauren, to stun the whole team, and then try to go for a Cyclone. The mage stops him with a counter spell, but then I'm going to activate Thorns and swap to the warrior every time that I do so. Unfortunately, Ignore Pain is a pretty powerful defensive cooldown on top of the Triune Ward legendary for mage, so these are two very self-durable classes. Now my Paladin's in a polymorph, so what's our reaction? Because we can't move because of that blue circle, it's to go bear form. And then I want to jump off the side, stun the warrior, use every bash on the warrior, try to Cyclone out of bash when you think you're in trouble. So here I felt I was in trouble. And also the Paladin had Avenging Wrath up here, this orange icon with a 15. That increases the Paladin's healing. I'm probably not going to be able to kill while the Paladin has this active, unless they're in crowd control like this Repentance. So now that we've landed crowd control, I'm going to go aggressive. I get into Solar Eclipse, and then I try and Cyclone out of the Repentance. This is a good crowd control chain, and I just want to dump out as many Star Surges as I can. But I get intercepted, and I get stunned up. Because it's a Colossus Smash here, this yellow icon with the red box, I choose to use Barkskin in the stun. My warrior comes back to peel, and I'm still focusing Solar Beams on the mage, interrupting polymorphs. My main goal is to just do damage and run this little blue bar for the paladin completely to 0, and then prevent the paladin from continuing to heal through my damage through just plain solid defense. So the warrior again is starting to run at me. I use Stampeding Roar to avoid it. My paladin's in a fear. I need to get away from the warrior at this time. So I'm going to jump down to the bottom, go into bear form, line the combustion here. The mage is up top with combustion. You can see it here. So I'm lining siding him. He can't get any pyros on me or fire blasts, and I'm choosing to tank the warrior instead. Combustion is by far the scariest cooldown in the game due to its frequency and its punch. So I wanted to avoid that at all costs. But now that the combustion is over, I do need to start focusing on avoiding the warrior. So I can use Bash, or I could use Wild Charge and try and look for Cyclones. I Cyclone the mage to stop damage. I innervate my healer so that they can freely heal. Again, playing into the strategy of dragging this fight on later into the late game and running the enemy healer out of mana. We also did decide about halfway through this game that swapping to the paladin felt pretty good. Mage and warrior is just so durable with Ignore Pain and Triune Ward, whereas Holy Paladin doesn't have those. It felt better to attack. Now my paladin's in a polymorph. I decided to knock the warrior off screen. You don't even see him. He's knocked out of the game so far, right here behind the box. And my goal is to just avoid the warrior while my paladin is crowd controlled, but they're attacking my warrior. What happens when they attack my warrior? I need to Cyclone. I need to crowd control. Because I got interrupted, I use Bash, which is physical. They can't prevent it even though I'm counterspelled. Then I try and cast Cyclones. The warrior had thought that it was on him, so he spell reflected, but it was on the paladin. And I chose the paladin because my paladin was no longer crowd controlled. I activate Thorns on myself as the warrior's attacking me. And I could choose to jump off the side here and jump back up as my paladin's in a polymorph. This is actually a very scary moment. I choose to use Wild Charge in bear form to charge to the mage to try and jump down out of line of sight of the paladin, because the paladin actually repositioned, and then knock the enemies down off line of sight from their paladin rather than playing on the side that I was, because I have to pay attention to where this guy is, Drippington, the Holy Paladin on their team. If I jump down here, I'm line of sighting my paladin, but not their paladin. So going down to this area wouldn't be too beneficial. Combustion, this orange icon, very scary. Bear form, immediately. Do not disrespect it. You will die immediately if you don't. I mean, look at my health right now, even playing as defensively as I am. I'm going to use Bull Rush, my High Mountain racial. Really love High Mountain. Get an extra charge to the pillar. It plays into the mobility build really well as well. I'm just going to line of sight the mage. Again, no point in attacking while this Avenging Wrath is up, or at least not. There's a point in keeping dots up, but not standing still for too long. You want to avoid damage. I use Thorns and Incarnation while the warrior is really far away from his team and try and blast him down. And that should have been another main tactic for me throughout this game, earlier in the game. I think we were still figuring the matchup out for about the first 3 minutes, but warrior behind pillar or paladin swap, I think, are going to be the strongest kill potentials before dampening, but the durability of the specs in the match is just so high that this is likely a game that will go to dampening outside of some pretty big mistakes at the moment. So at this point, I try to go for a Cyclone. I get Spell Reflected, but it's on diminishing return. It's not the end of the world. You should try to look to fake out Spell Reflect, but their healer is in crowd control here with the Repentance, so I need to be doing damage. I need to be trying to get into Eclipse or looking for Cyclones. They use Divine Shield to break out of the crowd control, so now I'm in bear form. I'm running. I'm using Stampeding Roar to sprint myself and avoid the warrior. I try to Cyclone the paladin out of his bubble, but I get stunned on it. I end up dodging his spear thanks to the Stampeding Roar sprint, and you do want to be utilizing those sprint effects as much as possible. Stampeding Roar is a nice one because you can use it in bear form, whereas Dash is only in cat form. Then I Cyclone the warrior, and I come back to the mage for a moment to get into Eclipse. I didn't want to deal with the pummel and the Stormbolt. But you can see attacking the mage, even with Eclipse and all my Star Surges, I can kind of barely crack the shield and get any damage. I position to try and Typhoon them off the side. I knock the mage, and then I would like to line of sight the mage. The warrior wastes his heroic leap, so I'm going to use Wild Charge to escape back to the edge ramp here. And if he chases me, I was going to activate my Kyrian ability and do a lot of damage. But now that mage is split up and not able to escape my warrior triggers Cauterize and gets Ice Block with my Cyclone on the paladin. So we're just being really disruptive, playing defense, being as annoying as possible to the enemy team. That's particularly the main point of this strategy, with running Wild Charge and running Mighty Bash as opposed to the Mass Entanglement, Renewal, tanky build with instant crowd control. And I thought that it was a lot more fun overall. You can see that we have a significant mana advantage here, about 7 minutes into the game over the enemy team. Combustion, again, big power play moment. They're attacking warrior. So what do I need to do? I need to cast Cyclone or Regrowth. So I cast Cyclone on the warrior, and then I try to charge up to the mage, and I bashed him a little bit too late. I should have bashed this faster. It would have stopped the polymorph, and then we wouldn't be crowd controlled, and we could be a little bit aggressive faster. Using Solar Beam here with the spear is generally a good combo with a warrior on your team, as it will pull the target back into the Solar Beam silence repeatedly for about 4 seconds. So it's a good little stun lock combo. Now I drag the warrior down out of line of sight and activate Thorns. If he chases me, he's going to die to Thorns. So he can't chase me. I'm going to heal with Frenzied Regen while my Paladin sits through crowd control up here. I'm sitting pretty down here, just healing myself, sitting out of line of sight, watching my warrior chop them to pieces because they're so tunnel visioned on attacking me. But as soon as I see that they've given up on me, I come back into the fight. I'll start casting Starfire twice to get into Solar Eclipse, dump my Astral Bar into Star Surges. With my Balance of All Things Legendary, it's likely to make those Star Surges crit. Then I want to chain crowd control, Cyclone out of Repentance here, but I get stopped by the mage, which is obviously unfortunate for me. That could have been the end of the game if I had been able to get that Cyclone. But then I use my bear charge onto the Paladin to hold him in place to try and go for a Cyclone. I fake out the pummel of the warrior, and the Paladin got scared and activated Sacrifice. Didn't want to get Cyclone, realizing that could have been checkmate, game over. But it still could be checkmate, game over just on mana due to our solid defense. Now, my Paladin's in a Ring of Frost, so I want to get focused on defense here. I see my warrior landed Double Fear. It would be advantageous to use Disorienting Roar to disrupt the chain. So I interrupted Polymorph, then I bashed the Polymorph. Again, just all focused on defense, stop the mage from crowd controlling or stop the warrior from attacking. I could do a better job of maintaining my dots overall, but you would be surprised at how fast we actually die if you're not just playing defensively the entire time. So I still think focusing on defense is a better option in these particular matchups with melee DPS, with how high burst damage is at the moment. Better to be safe than sorry in one shot on the ground. But here is Combustion and Avatar. My reaction is Bear Form Barkskin and then turn it right around, pop Incarn and blast down the Holy Paladin. And sometimes this is the best time to actually attack, is right when the enemy is attacking, so long as you have defense and they don't. So if they pop Combustion on you, and then you pop Incarnation back, and you go head to head with your cooldowns, and you know they don't have Ice Block, or you know they don't have Divine Shield, but you do, you're going to win that race. You're going to win that trade every time. You've dragged the fight on into dampening, so that was the time to just kind of go head to head, slam everything against the wall, and just pump as much damage. And this is a strategy that I'm implementing against basically every melee DPS other than Subtlety Rogue, and I'm having a lot more fun with it at the moment than the kind of sit in bear form and pray that you don't die to Ursoc build that I think a lot of Boomkins are currently running. It's a little bit harder to pull off, obviously. You need more awareness than just the city in bear form whenever someone's hitting you, but I think it works out better and it's more rewarding and fun to play, and you can be successful with it as well. I'll be releasing more videos as well utilizing the strategy in the future, so if you'd like to check out those videos, then please do subscribe to the channel. Comment down below with your thoughts on Balance Druid. How are you enjoying it so far? Is it working out for you? Are you seeing success, or is it difficult? What are your struggles? Because obviously I want this to be a resource for you at home to be able to improve your gameplay so that we can all get better games. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.